And speaking of cultural Marxism, we've got a dude who knows a little bit about both of those things. He's the host of the Andrew Klavan Show, my favorite podcast. It's true. I'm sorry, Chris DeGaulle. And he's also author of the brand new book, A Strange Habit of Mind. He is Andrew Klavan. Andrew, cultural Marxism. Good to talk with you.
It's great to see you. I'm not sure how I felt about that.
Well, we just spoke with Mike Gonzalez at Heritage about cultural Marxism. And listen, I've been reading you. I've been hearing you. I've been out for drinks with you and Andrew Breitbart back in the day, and cultural Marxism was a big thing he liked to talk about. It is kind of fun to see conservatives and Republicans in this town kind of figuring it out.
Catching on.
Well, at least seeing that it's a problem.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, well, because this is how it bleeds into the society. It's very appealing. You know, it's funny, you know, Marxism, leftism, and fascism are the two great evils that kind of come between the free man, you know, the idea that the individual should be free. And fascism is kind of immediately repellent. It's some ugly little guy pounding on a podium, and you get why people turn away from it. But Marxism, that sounds so fair and so nice, and everyth's going to be equal, and we're all going to.
And it's intellectual, and it's philosophical.
That's right.
It's
and,
not.
You get the good mustaches and things, and you know, it's like, it's just, and so it creeps into society because you can make movies. All the places where Marxism thrives are places where ideas don't need to be tested. The Academy, Hollywood, the news media. These are places where you don't have to put the balloon up and see, oh, gee, it explodes when you put it into the air.
Well, and we talk a lot about the establishment Republicans or country club Republicans, and I think that in many ways there were Republicans who loved the free market, loved capitalism, loved the economic freedom. Yeah. But when their kids came back from college and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're a Republican," they'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm not one of those icky Jesse Helms Republicans. I don't engage in that kind of stuff. I only worry about the fiscal responsibility." Right?
You know, this has been one of the things that gutted conservatism after Reagan, and it came in with Reagan. This idea that greed was good. That was a slogan that actually somebody said in the Reagan administration. That wasn't Reagan at all. That was not what Reagan was selling. He was a compassionate guy. He was a guy who talked about freedom a lot. And it was this idea that it all ended up with Ayn Rand, this godless fool who sold this idea that somehow it was the only thing we needed was a free market. The free market cannot do anything without the values that propel it. You know, you can't have a free market. You can't have freedom at all if people don't start with certain, I'm sorry, but religious-based values that are going to guide them on the way. And that's the whole problem. You can't fight cultural Marxism with the free market.
That said, if you read the first third of Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand was a prophet. I mean, it's what we're living through right now.
Well, this is the thing about her, that you're actually right about this. You know, there is Bastiat was a great French economist who wrote this 70-page book called The Laws. Everything that is in Ayn Rand that is brilliant is in those 70 pages. And if you read those 70 pages, or as you say, one of the 1,000 long speeches in Atlas Shrugged, you get the idea. This is what she understood. She understood money, but she didn't understand what comes after money. When you wear a dollar sign instead of a cross around your neck, you're missing the big point. And you know, it's easy to prove this. It's like capitalism is wonderful. It is the best economic system, but prostitution is capitalism. Fentanyl is capitalism. Without the values, without people who know, in the same way our Constitution is based on the idea that the people will be moral and religious. Capitalism has to be the same way. If it's just based on profit, if it's just based on efficiency, it just becomes a murderous, you know, kind of slaughtering of culture just the same way.
I'm going to read those 70 pages because if I can avoid those very awkward love scenes too.
God.
She gets very raunchy.
Well, she knows nothing about human interaction.
That said, Andrew, last time you were here on set, and we do love having you swing by, and you fly all the way in from Hollywood, and it's so nice of you to do this.
Boy, are my arms tired.
It was before the election, and we talked about Republicans, how they might win, what they might win, and here Republicans have won the majority in the House, and now they get these committees.
Right.
We got to talk about what they're going to do with it. Let's start with January 6th. Adam Schiff yesterday actually said something like, you know, well, we're going to have transparency in all the evidence that we gathered in the January 6th Commission, but we're going to have to scrub some of it to protect some of our witnesses. If you're Jim Jordan, what are you thinking? Right? Scrubbed? That's destroying evidence.
Well, especially if you're for a fellow congressman. Yes. Whenever Adam Schiff says transparency, reach for your wallet, hold on to your wallet. You know, these investigations are a very difficult thing. You have to accept certain things. No one's going to get arrested. No one's going to jail. Fauci's not going to jail. Adam Schiff's not going to jail. Nobody is going to jail. It just doesn't happen that way. And the people get so upset and angry about the ideas that come out.
Well, except Steve Bannon. He might be going
Steve
no
Bannon,
offense to Steve, but when they have their heart set on it, they'll send someone to jail.
They can do it, but it's just not the people who are real wrongdoers. Bannon may go to jail for snubbing a subpoena. That's not. He's not going to go to jail for anything he did. Right. So the thing is, you have to be careful politically. I'm a political realist. I mean, it's very important to keep your mind focused on what you're trying to do going forward. It's important to get the facts out about the past, but you have to remember the voters care about the future. They care about feeding their kids. They care about the economy going well. They care about their freedoms. Some of them actually are elevated enough to care about that as well. So we want to investigate January 6th. Committee. It was an absolute travesty of justice to have essentially a public trial without a defense. Right. The fact that anybody covered it seriously and took it seriously was offensive. We should find out about the pandemic, and Fauci should be brought before them, and all of these things. But you have to remember they're all in the past. And the thing that I would really like to hear about, which I think is the most important issue going forward, is how much manipulation there was of social media. And I know it's maybe not as glamorous, maybe not as sexy. You don't have a villain like Fauci involved, but if they were operating with Google and with Facebook to suppress information during the pandemic and also during the election, I think we need to hear that, because right now Elon Musk is fighting a battle that no one person can win. The free market is not going to handle Twitter and social media censorship. Right. It's going to take government response. There's going to have to be a government response. And to set the stage for that, we're going to have to show that these utilities have been mishandled by our government officials.
I like that you use the term utilities.
That's what they are.
Because that suggests that they must be regulated.
It is a public square that has been censored by the cleverest.
To January 6th, though, I mean, it is very relevant to the families of those people who are still in jail, who still haven't seen justice. And these hearings, in a very public way, literally on primetime television, Andrew, took place while they were supposed to be getting a fair trial and having a fair, untainted jury pool, which is already impossible to do in this town. I mean, that's pretty relevant right now.
No, I think, look, it's all relevant. The Fauci stuff is relevant, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. They should do it fiercely and ferociously. But you have to remember, too, that after a while, it happens to the Democrats as well. After a while, the investigations start to look like, what has this got to do with me? I can't put gas in my car. I can't do anything. What are you doing for me? And I think you have to really make sure that it's all important. I'm not knocking it, and I'm not belittling it. Just politically, you have to make sure that people see that you're being active and you're helping the country go forward.
Yeah, I remember last time we spoke also and talked about the lead up to the election. You said we are a very divided country. And boy, this election sure pointed that out, didn't it? I mean, the Senate is still basically 50-50. The House is now, what is it, a 3/4 seat majority? I mean, across the board, we are divided. Is there any way out of this divide? Is there a way for us to actually focus? Could the Republicans in the House focus on those things that we can agree on?
Yes, I think that you're going to have, well, that may not be the right way to go forward.
All right, set aside that.
Because the Democrats are so left-wing and they're so governed by their base right now that they're not putting forward very much that we can agree on. And when we do agree on it, like the Republicans in the Senate putting forward this Defense of Marriage, of Gay Marriage Act, when it's completely unnecessary. The Supreme Court has ruled this is the law of the land. There's no reason to pass this except to make Republicans look bad with their base. And Republicans are so stupid, they're falling for it. So those are the things I worry about, how we collaborate. But the country can be brought together for the simple reason that I'm sure this is true. 70% of the people agree on 70% of the issues.
All right, Andrew, thank you. We'll have to get to it more in a future date, but that's it for now. More to come on O'Connor Tonight.